Welcome to the LimitFree Life Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. I bring you tips, advice, and guest stories about creating work you love. Whatever type of career or business you have or want, I want to help you find more meaning, money, and happiness. Now we are live from Hollywood. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the LimitFree Life Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host, and I have a fabulous guest. She's actually here for the second time because she's such a powerhouse, and I had her on very early in the life of the LimitFree Life Show, and I wanted to bring her back because she's just always on the move doing new things, and I can't wait to share her journey with you and let you see what she's up to today, because what she's up to is designed to help you in your more limit-free life. And Deborah Darris is here with us, and she is a fantastic coach, trainer of public speaking and how to get paid for your speaking. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little about Deborah, and then we'll bring her on. Deborah Darris is the founder of Synergy Unlimited, which empowers experts to be paid to speak. She's a top peak performance Latina speaker, speaking for Fortune 500 companies like NBC, JP Morgan, State Farm Insurance. She's also the author of the book Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict. She's host of the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. Please help me welcome Deborah Darris.
The crowd goes wild.
I'm so happy to have you back. I feel so fortunate that you're here with us today, because you are such an inspiration and have so many wonderful tips for people, because, you know, people secretly want to be able to speak. And that next level is to actually get paid to speak. So people who have a message, people who are doing things in the world that are meaningful, which is what I help people to find, really want to speak about it, and you're the expert. So I would really love for you to help the audience understand how to empower themselves and make that happen.
Thank you for having me back. I love what you do and who you are,
Thank you.
and just all the blessings you bring to your audience. And I really believe that everyone is a messenger for a unique message. So I'm looking forward to sharing all this information today.
Well, let's jump in by finding out, what is your unique message, and what was your journey to get to where you are now with this?
I love that you asked me that, because even if you asked me that a year ago,
Yeah.
it was different than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because we all grow and evolve, and our messages change.
Right.
So back about 15 years ago, when I wrote the book Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict, if you asked me, what my message was, it was success with ease and grace. And that was the goal of the book after burning out and like literally being hospitalized because I had adrenal burnout, completely exhausted at age 24. I was like, how am I going to do this lifetime of work if I'm already burning myself out? Because just type A personality on overload is an adrenaline addict, not skydiving or bungee jumping, but just doing too much for no reason other than that, thinking that's the only way to do it. And the book is really 7 principles to do it with ease and grace. But now, after 17 years speaking on that topic of the book, I am speaking on a new topic, which is my next book, which is called Align for Success. And I truly believe that when we align our thoughts with our emotions, with our behaviors, that we get our desired results. Whether you want to use speaking to speak with more confidence in your career, or whether you want to grow your business and have your expertise be out there and be paid for it, both of these you can achieve when you're in alignment. And it's really about focusing your energy, focusing your thoughts, and then your actions will correspond to that.
Right. Yeah. Fantastic. And I love the fact that you have kind of a really strong spiritual element that you bring into business. I think, business owners really should be enlightened that way and combine those things. And some of what you were just saying is rooted in some of your spiritual beliefs. Is that correct?
Yes, I have an interesting background, or I think it's interesting.
I
Maybe
do
it's
too.
not. But my bachelor's degree is in marketing. My master's degree is in education. So I've taught counseling, but I've also taught marketing. But I also have, I would say, a degree. It was 4 years of formal study and 10 years of informal study
Mm.
as a spiritual counselor. So I've officiated weddings, I've officiated funerals, I've officiated house blessings, baby blessings. And actually, the funeral that I recently did was a celebration of life. And it
Mm.
was so beautiful. It was in a park. And each person had a chance to speak about the lessons that they learned and the legacy of the person that had passed. And
Mm.
I think it's so powerful. Oh, I get chills just thinking about when we talk about this subject of monetizing your magnificence. And it's like if you were at your own eulogy watching, which I know my friend that passed did, she was a butterfly above me.
Mm.
What would people say about you? What would your life story, how would it be represented? What would people say? Because at the end of the day, they're not going to say, oh, she drove a Lexus or
Mhm.
she had a two-bedroom house. What
Right.
they're going to say is this person, like what they said about my friend, was she taught us to set to love ourselves and self-care and set boundaries and be bold and be playful. And people kept repeating the same thing.
Mm.
So you really want to think about that. And that's what one of my coaches talks about is like your 3 word brand messaging. Mine is Align for Success. But what are your 3 words? What are the 3 words that if you were to live your whole life, people would remember you by that?
Mm.
Live life fully, align for success, played full out. What
Right.
would your message be?
Mm.
Marinate on that, you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. That does take some thought. That's not an easy answer to come up with. So, yeah, great question. And so, how have you incorporated some of your understanding of spiritual principles into your programs that you teach?
I love that you're talking about spiritual. You are so in alignment with me because I could talk about that all day. It's so important because I really believe it's my secret sauce.
Mm.
A lot of people, especially in the entrepreneur world, think no pain, no gain. You have to hustle, kill yourself, don't sleep. And that is
Yeah.
not at all my belief,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I believe in success with ease and grace and also aligning for success. My secret sauce, my spiritual secret sauce, and how I align is through meditation.
Mm.
We talk about prayer. Every word we say is literally a prayer, whether we
Mm.
know it or not.
Yeah.
There's a universal law that thought is energy and energy becomes formed. The invisible becomes visible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything we see or touch was first a thought, right?
Right.
So every time we speak something, we speak a word, which the word is law and becomes manifest.
Right.
So meditation is an opportunity to not to speak, funny coming from a speaker, but to listen,
Yeah. Right.
get the divine downloads. And the difference between a speaker that is paid and a speaker that is just speaking for fun or just educationally speaking
Right.
is being open and receptive to the divine downloads because then you tap into your sixth sense. It's
Mm.
not just what you think you should say or being in your head.
Right.
It's you being truly the messenger for the message, the vessel, the channel to allow it to come through you, not from you.
Right.
And then it just flows. It's like you're in the zone. You're Kobe Bryant making that slam dunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking. Because I see a lot of speakers and a lot of people that I coach, they're up here, they're in their head, they're remembering their bullet points, they're thinking about what people are thinking about them. And the speakers that I love and that have mentored me, like Dr. Michael Beckwith,
Mm.
like Panache Desai, like Marianne Williamson, like Eckhart Tolle, they don't think for a second. They're being present.
Right.
And being present comes from alignment. So having a spiritual practice of meditation, and meditation doesn't need to be a formal sitting still.
Right.
I also do a lot of mindfulness speaking when I go to corporations, and mindfulness is being present in the now. It's connecting with your breath. It's
Mm.
breathing in and breathing out. And when you do that for a cycle of 6 repetitions of breathing in and breathing out, you get into that place where you can tap into your superconscious mind. That's what Steve Jobs did. That's
Mm.
how you become a creative and innovative. person in the workplace, whether it's as an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur working for a company. But it literally is my secret sauce.
And that's beautiful, by the way. And are you able to teach other people? Because my feeling is people are listening, going, "I don't know how to get a divine download coming into my mind, and then have the right things come out of my mouth." But that's part of what you teach, correct?
Yeah, I actually just did a 5-week coaching program on that, where I had a group of very highly successful overachievers, a 20-year-old Stanford attorney,
Mm.
and this amazing 25-year-old who owned her own marketing company that was global. I mean, these people had no challenges when it came to career or business
Mm.
but just the stress was starting to overwhelm them. And so
Right.
I did a 5-week course, and every seminar we would start, it was an online Zoom with meditation and
Mm.
mindfulness. And I would
Nice.
teach them different strategies to quiet their mind and quiet their thoughts.
Right.
Because if you're going to speak and you have all this mind chatter and your ego, that's not your amigo, your enemy or the enemy will tell you all the things that, oh, they know more than me, or won't even let you get on the stage. Or
Mm.
if you're not even going on stages, won't even give you permission to open your mouth. So I do teach that. And I have a 4-step process I could give right now. Do you want me to give it to you?
Do you want to? I mean,
Yes.
I'd love it, but it's we're kind of veered off. But I would love it if you would do that for us if you
We
want to.
are on. We are always on and in divine alignment.
Yeah.
So, for example, what I would recommend everyone doing, and don't close your eyes if you're driving or obviously, right?
Yeah.
But just be in a place where you can have your hands facing up and just your body in a relaxed state. And just for a moment, I'm not asking you to stop thinking because that's what our mind does. It's naturally meant to think, but just to allow your thoughts to pass in one ear and out the other, like clouds in the sky, and just breathe in and breathe out. And like when you breathe out, really take that breath. I want to hear you, Michelle. Like let go. Like literally when we sigh, we're letting go of that frustration. We're letting go of that anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's so important when we want to manifest, when we want to create or co-create, that we're releasing so that we can allow space for our good to come in.
Mm.
Because when we're anxious, we only breathe in, we hold our and what we want to do is to circulate energy, circulate abundance, circulate creativity, and it's through our breath. So breathing
Mm.
in and letting go. And just think of something that you're grateful for. I know, Michelle, you're so grateful for your kids. Everyone listening, you may be grateful for a nephew, a niece,
A
a
dog.
puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say something, someone that you have unconditional love for. So bringing your attention to an experience of gratitude, of appreciation. And you can have your eyes closed or open
Mm.
if you're in a safe place, and just allowing the thoughts just to go in one ear and out the other. And then I would invite you to ask your higher self, your intuition, you could call it. I call it your intuitive guidance system. It's softer than your ego, but it's there. And you could ask your intuitive guidance system a question, something you want to know. What direction should I take in my career? What is my next step in my business? And just allow yourself just to be, nowhere to go, nothing to do, and just see what downloads. Our intuitions.
What's happening?
Kind of listen and then really hear so we can take inspired action. And that inspired action is our guidance, our intuitive guidance system that's always guiding us to the right place at the right time with the right people. And just gently opening your eyes. You guys are getting deep. You're going into sleep mode,
I
some of you.
know.
Okay, wake up, wake up, wake up. But that's like an example of a mindfulness exercise. And
Mm.
the 4 steps are, be still, of course. Then you ask the question, you listen, and you may get an image, like I'll get like an image of like a bird, like and maybe it's an eagle, and that means okay, I need more freedom, focus more freedom. So you kind of have to interpret it,
Right.
but when you're done, you write it down, and then it makes sense to you. And then
Mm.
instead of taking just frenetic action based on, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do a million things, you take inspired action.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
besides being a speaking coach, I'm a coach too.
Right.
And I coach people to take inspired action because many times people, especially high achievers that I work with, think they need to do everything. Oh, I need to do a blog and a podcast and a YouTube channel and every million thing, where actually maybe you just need to focus on one thing and
Right.
really be laser targeted at that. And then you will achieve your goal because clarity is cash.
That's right. Oh, that's great. Yeah, there's so much there. And I love that. Mindfulness is showing up for me all over the place, it seems like. And the concept of it. And it has such a beautiful place, you know, before you're about to speak, before you're about to go into a job interview. But within companies don't have such a culture of it. Maybe they're starting to, but boy,
Slowly.
yeah, and it's such a important thing to really help people and companies be more productive and more profitable and more of everything that they want. So,
Yeah, I actually recently spoke at a Human Resources Association conference, and having me speak, they didn't call it mindfulness, it was called the Mindset for Success,
okay.
but I implemented mindfulness techniques. So every like 11 minutes in my speaking, I would ring a bell and we would stop and we would just breathe. And they thought
Mm,
that was so different because it was experiential.
right.
Organizations love to bring in experiential speakers for keynote speakers because it keeps people engaged. And the reason that companies are embracing it is because they know that to be a world class leader in their industry, they need to be creative and innovative. And
Hmm.
the innovative mind, which is the right brain and the superconscious mind, is not on the left brain. It's not logical. You have to tap into that other side. So,
Right.
to tap into that other side, you really need to practice that mindfulness.
Right. Right. So, okay, let's just talk about what speaking can do for people. I mean, you teach people how to be speakers, and I'm touting this as being something that will help you live a limit-free life, and I believe that. How can people use speaking to really expand their business, their career, their life?
Right. And just to clarify, because you said I teach people to be speakers,
Hmm.
I have a couple programs. So, one
Right.
program I have, Ignite Your Speaking, helps people to be more confident.
Mm.
So, I have a lot of people that have careers and they have to do
Yeah.
presentations in front of head executive and CEOs. And
Right.
then I also have CEOs that need to give presentations in front of like stakeholders and they need to be like on it, or politicians, and they come to me. So, that's one program. And I have another program for experts, entrepreneurs that are out there and they're speaking for free. Maybe they're a relationship coach or a health coach, or like you, a limit-free living coach, and they want to be on stages. And it doesn't have to be big stages. I have
Right.
someone that's a CEO of multiple companies that just wants to lead mastermind retreats.
Mm.
She doesn't want to be on big stages.
Right.
And so, what I help people do is to monetize their magnificence
Mm.
and take their unique talent, skills, and abilities. And I have created a systemized program that I've developed from 17 years speaking of how to do that. Because I did everything by trial and error. I learned from a lot of mistakes. I spent probably $40,000 on speaking, training, coaching
Mm.
programs. I've been to every program, done everything, and I have all this information. And so now it's my time to give back and to really help people to not have to take 10 years to learn, but to learn all my mistakes, learn all my insights so that they could go and start off like right away at a great fee for their talent.
Yeah, so interesting. That really is kind of next level because a lot of people start out speaking and do it for free. It's a great thing to do. You get the experience. It's good marketing. It's good, credibility builder, all kinds of wonderful things. But that leap from, for one thing, you need to learn to be a great speaker. But then, to leap into getting paid to speak is, for one thing, it's a money mindset shift because that gets complicated thinking about actually being paid to speak when you're, either you haven't been speaking or you've been speaking for free. So
Right.
it's a
It
big
is a
deal.
big money mindset thing because as a paid speaker, you're not paid by the hour, you're
Hmm.
paid for your expertise.
Hmm.
So it's such a different um, mindset. So people really have to wrap their mind around all their education, all their experience, all their expertise, all their unique knowledge, all their unique talent. When you think of someone like Brene Brown, who did research on vulnerability, or you think of Mel Robbins, who did the 5 minute rule for overcoming procrastination, like it's your unique calling card. What is the problem that you solve that people would pay for? And that's what I help people find the clarity to be able to identify that.
Right. And how can you give us some examples of some speaking engagements that you've done yourself that you feel have really changed the trajectory of your career?
Oh, yeah. So my favorite one, and this was the big turning point for me. So for years and years, I was speaking on my Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict book. And for a long time, it was like work-life balance, time management, a little bit of team building kind of thing, because my company is Synergy Unlimited, so team building.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I was ironically or synchronistically teaching a technology class for human services
Hmm.
workers at the University of Phoenix.
Hmm.
And I had been putting videos up on YouTube, my friend. And this agency was searching for a Latina speaker that could teach a series to Hispanic professionals on technology. And so they were looking online, Latina speaker, and they found me. It didn't say
Mm.
anything about technology, but they saw that I was an engaging, charismatic speaker that was Latina. And they wanted somebody Latina for this Hispanic series. And they pitched me to their client, which was Verizon.
Oh.
And I ended up booking my hugest gig ever. I mean, the gig was for 10 hours, really stage time, but it was the equivalent of what I would make in a year's worth of work.
Oh my goodness.
So 10 hours, which I used to make in a year,
Wow.
365 days. Okay.
Okay.
So it was like an aha moment. And talk about back to mindset. I had just had a coaching session with my coach the day before, and she
Mm.
said that it was just as easy to book a speaking engagement with an extra zero on the end. And it was like multiple figures, zeros, as she said was actually easier. And the
Mm.
only thing that needed to shift was my confidence and my belief in myself. And that if somebody was interested in me to know is because they were seeing my value. And I needed to stand in
Mm.
that to
Mm.
be able to attract these higher speaking gigs, higher paid speaking gigs, and the power of our thoughts. You already know as a money mindset coach, it took a day for that to happen. I almost
Mm.
thought it was my coach
Yeah.
playing the prank call on me because it was literally one 24-hour period. That's how long it took to go from thought to reality. You wonder why spirituality and meditation is my secret sauce. If
Yeah.
I didn't meditate, I would have so much self-doubt and so much limiting beliefs that
Mm.
I don't believe these opportunities would come to me. You
Right.
have to be ready for them on an energetic level.
Hmm.
And Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's a neuroscientist speaker I love, says that thoughts are electric, but feelings are magnetic. So you
Mm.
can't fake the funk. You can't just do an affirmation and hope you're going to attract these high paying speaking engagements. You
Right.
truly need to embody it and own it. And that's what I coach people to be confident in doing, whether they're
Mm.
paid to speak or whether they're just speaking as part of their profession. You need to own it.
Yes, absolutely. And I was actually at an event last weekend, and it was a big mastermind business coaching event. And the woman who was running it had us do an exercise where we visualized a year ahead, and we wrote about what was going on a year from today, and all the things that we wanted to have, be, feel, whatever. And it was really interesting because she does that every year, and then she said at this event, what's been happening is then she reads it the next year and she thinks to herself, what happened and what didn't happen from this visualization. And she said, it's almost like I've been able to speak things into existence, which I
Yes.
thought was a really interesting way to put it. It's stuck in my head. I keep telling everybody about it, because that's, I mean, it started as thought, but then it went into writing, and this idea that you can
Yeah.
decide what you want and speak it into existence is
Yeah,
pretty.
Will Smith and Jim Carrey and a lot of actors I've been hearing, they talk about it. It's the law of attraction.
Yeah, yeah,
It's speaking it, but it's also being it. I
right,
think people forget that part of the secret,
yeah,
that it's not just wishful thinking
right,
or positive thinking or hopeful thinking.
right.
It's and this is why I say to ask, listen, hear, and then take inspired action. It's
Hmm.
not just thinking and hoping it'll drop on your lap. Like,
Right,
I would not have gotten that speaking engagement unless I had my videos on YouTube. And this is
right.
why I really emphasize my speakers to have their video footage on YouTube, because agents are searching YouTube for talent. And if
Ah,
you are
interesting.
there and you are positioned to the solution and to the answer to their problem, and you have your 3 word,
Mm.
calling card, then they're going to be able to find you.
Well, and I want to just let people know, I heard you the first time I met you. You were teaching a workshop an event, and it was on social media. So that's
Right.
another area of expertise of yours. So not only can you help people to learn to speak more powerfully and get paid to speak, but then to be able to promote it and do, get the exposure on all platforms of social media, really.
And this is why a lot of the experts that are out there, and they're like, but I don't know what I would speak about. I don't know. And that's part of what I help people
Mm.
do to clarify it. Because as entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, we're so talented, right? I know you listeners are so talented. You have multi-level talents. Like, I
Right.
could teach meditation, I could teach mindfulness, I could
Yeah.
teach social. There's so many things that everybody listening can teach on. And basically, your audience and your topic will find you if you
Mm.
follow like the steps that I give you. I literally put together an 80-page workbook of the questions to
Wow.
ask your intuition, because all the answers are within you.
Mm.
When you ask your intuition, it's going to guide you, because it's no longer just a vocation. It is your soul's contract. It's what you're
Mm.
here to do. And when you match your talents and your passion with your soul's contract, literally the universe will part pass to get you those opportunities, because that's what you're here for. It is literally what you're here for. So I never thought I would teach on social media or digital marketing. Even now, when I get asked to speak at conferences, which I already booked 2 in January.
Oh,
I
wow.
have 2 social media conferences that I'm doing back to back in January 2020. Oh my God, it sounds like into the future, right? And it was just something that I was naturally talented at, digital marketing and social media. And then they said, well, will you speak? And
Mm.
I mean, you just have to trust.
Right.
And I think that's a process for some people that are very analytical, to trust their intuition and
Hmm.
to really align. Because when you align, you will be led on your right path.
Right. Wow, that's amazing, and congratulations on those speaking gigs. Yeah, you are amazing in what you know about social media. So I find that very difficult to keep up with. So as far as what you have going on now, you're. I'd love for you to tell people some of the ways that you help people, and also just if somebody is just unsure as to their own ability. Did you start out being comfortable speaking, or was that something that you really had to learn?
No, no, no. Well, I remember when I was in 3rd grade and we had to read, I think it was the Declaration. What was the Declaration of Independence? I can't remember what we had to read. 4 score and 7 years ago. What was that? I can't remember,
That
but we
is,
had to read it. And I remember being so nervous and so anxious. And
Ryan
I said,
knows what it is. What is it?
what is it?
It's like the Declaration
That's what I thought.
Proclamation.
The Declaration of Independence. I knew it.
No,
I
Declaration
just was like,
Proclamation. It's like a speech by Abraham Lincoln, I think.
right. I love that
Yeah.
speech. I just felt it. I
Thanks,
felt
Ryan.
it when I memorized that speech and I said it. It like fueled my soul. And I remember thinking, I have 2 choices. I could try to fit in with all the students and just mumble it like everybody was like mumbling it, or I could speak it like I was
Mm.
like giving it my heart and soul. You know what I mean? Like Obama or something like really, or whoever your Obama is, just like give it, like Beyonce, just give it all. Right. And so I gave it all. And of course, people made fun of me and I had bullies and I just didn't
Oh.
care. I dropped the mic and I was that. No, I'm just kidding. There's no mic. But it really inspired something within me,
Mm.
the ability to connect with people in a powerful way. And then I
Mm.
just put it away. And I just, my limiting belief and my ego took over. And I was like, oh, I'm not really a speaker, but I kept being called to speak. My first job I ever had as a state of California Department of Rehabilitation counselor,
Mm.
in my job description had nothing about speaking. What happened? Because when you're on your path, doors open, right? So
Mhm.
all of a sudden, I got an opportunity to do a train the trainer program. And my supervisor at the time said, you should go. And I ended up going, getting certified. And I
Hmm.
was doing 40-hour train the trainer programs. I was only 24.
Wow.
And they were a week long for people all that were older than me. And I trained like 500 people in this
Wow.
methodology of
Wow.
how to get people jobs. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. And I was just so natural at
Mhm.
facilitating, but I never considered myself a speaker.
Right.
So I went to Toastmasters, which I highly recommend. It's toastmasters.org. It's a nonprofit organization. That's how we met, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's a nonprofit organization which gives you a whole curriculum on how to speak, which is not what I do. The people that are with me, either they want to have more confidence speaking, but I'm not teaching them the speaking techniques. That's what Toastmasters does. And I
Okay.
wouldn't try to compete with Toastmasters. You can't. It's like the best. It's been around forever and it's so great. And I was speaking at Toastmasters just to improve my elevator pitch.
Mm.
And after 3 years going consistently, because
Wow.
anything you want to do in life, whether you want to be a gymnast, a tennis player, or a speaker, the key is practice, practice,
Yeah.
practice. It's getting out there and speaking, not in front of your mirror, not in front of your mom or wife or husband, but in front of an audience. That's why comedians go to comedy clubs.
Mm.
So at Toastmasters was when I booked my first paid gig. This was in
Oh.
2000, no, 2002 or 1999. I can't remember. Um, and somebody said, well, how much do you get paid to speak? And I'm like, you get paid to speak? And it was in San Diego for this major conference. And even 7 years later from my first speech, somebody from that audience told me how much my speech impacted them. And I realized that I needed to get out of my own way
Mm.
and not let my ego that was scared to speak stop me from speaking,
Right.
because it's not about me. I'm the messenger for the message. It's about the problem that I'm solving for my audience. And when I focus on that, it takes away my fear. I'll still have
Mm.
butterflies going up to the stage, and some audiences I've spoken to are more challenging than
Yeah.
others. But as a general rule, I surrender. And like you
Mm.
said, when you're mindful and you let go, and I let God, I let my higher power speak through me, it's always good.
Mm. Oh, I love that. So once you decide to be a paid speaker, is that something that can you make the decision, okay, here I'll speak for free, I mean, is it something where you've just made a decision that you're going to be paid all the time to speak? I'm just kind of curious how that works.
Yeah. So,
It almost
okay.
becomes a new career, a new revenue
Yeah.
stream for sure.
For some people, and that's what enabled me to eventually quit my government job. So I was
Okay.
working at this government job for 8 years. I had gone to school, got my bachelor's and master's degree to work in this field. And then because my speaking took off and I
Mm.
had a coaching practice of 35 clients a week, I
Wow.
didn't really have time for my job.
Yeah.
And I wasn't making enough money at my job to keep it. It was
Right.
like so much more lucrative to do speaking and coaching. And so I ended up quitting in 2002, and now it's
Mm.
2019. It's been 17 years
Wow.
since I've been an entrepreneur, and I am so grateful. It's not an easy road as an
Right.
entrepreneur, it's up and down. But when I decided to be a paid speaker, there's like phases of being a paid speaker. There's a wonderful book I recommend when I teach my mastermind, and I'll tell your readers, your audience members, so they can get it. It's called The Wealthy Speaker by Jane Atkinson,
Hmm.
and and she talks about the phases, and she actually has a wonderful PDF that I give to people, which says, when you first start as a speaker, here's your range. When you've been speaking for 5 to 7 years or so, here's your range. When
Okay.
you've been speaking at that level and consistently gotten paid that amount for over these years, here's your range. And it
Sure.
just it was really organic for me. I had to learn, like I said, a lot through trial and error. But after I did 20 paid speaking engagements a year, I
Mm.
joined the National Speakers Association,
Okay.
where I got a lot of guidance, and like Les Brown and Mark Victor Hansen and all these really cool speakers were a part of that
Mm.
organization at that time. So it was like so cool to learn from the best of the best.
Right.
And that's what I teach people in my mastermind group and my coaching, how to do that, because there's so many nuances. Because once you get paid to speak, you're asking me, do you never do a what I call pro bono speaking engagement again? No, there are some occasions that I will do something pro bono, especially if it's for like a domestic violence or
Mm.
a sexual abuse organization. Like I've spoken for the YWCA and other things like that.
Right.
But it's really, or I will do it strategically when everybody in the audience can hire me to speak. And it's like
Hmm.
not a free gig, it's a marketing opportunity and a
Right.
really good one because there's going to be a big return on investment.
Right.
But what I teach people is how to make your audience members your sales team, because
Mm.
I literally have booked 80% of my speaking from my audience. The
Wow.
other 20% is through social media and no advertising or cold calls or even mailers. 80% through my audience, 20% through social media. And I have a podcast called Be a Paid Speaker Now.
Hmm.
Listen to it, my
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah. It's
You
great.
you
You.
could actually go to be a paid speaker now podcast.com and listen to all the 37 episodes. And I've interviewed 37 people, some of which are me, but mostly other people. And it's so fascinating because to hear the different ways and different approaches
Mm.
that people book paid speaking engagements. But the majority of the people, the majority of my guests have been word of mouth.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you put the speech together, or do you kind of impose some strategy so that you can, engage the people in the audience enough or in a certain way so that they want to hire you?
Yes. So remember I told you I spent $40,000 on multiple programs?
Yeah.
So one of the programs that I went to, which was by Blair Singer, I don't know if you know who he is. He wrote
No.
the book Sales Dogs. He's part of the
Huh.
Rich Dad Poor Dad book
Ah,
series.
okay.
Yes, he's awesome. So
Nice.
he taught me, I went through a 5-day train the trainer program with him on when you're speaking, how to position yourself as an expert so that you can be booked for other things. So
Hmm.
I literally have a template for that. And I use
Nice.
that when I speak, and it positions me to be a leader, a thought leader, so that
Mm.
people will want to recommend me. So, because it establishes my expertise and my credibility, and I coach people on that. Yeah, it's really, really amazing. And one of the first things that he taught me was not to start off with "Hi, good afternoon." You ever hear like a mayor of a city that goes in and he says "Good afternoon," and
Yes.
everyone's like, there's like the awkward moment, like it, so people don't care who you are, what the afternoon is like until they know what's in it for me.
Yeah.
So you always want to start off asking questions that solve their pain or problem. So if I was going to do a social media talk, I'm like, how many of you are frustrated by social media marketing because you don't know how to go from likes to sales?
Right.
How many of you are on every social media platform but not seeing the return on investment? Okay. Hi, I'm Deborah Dare. And then I go into the whole thing. So I
Love that.
already start, and this is where doing your research, and I have a template for this as well,
Mm.
that I give away to my clients.
Is this all
It's
part of the 80-page manual, or is this additional?
That's supplement to the
Okay.
80-page manual. So there's an 80-page manual plus additional 8 supplements. And one of the
Okay.
supplements is my speaking contract. One of it is how to position your
Mm.
introduction. One of it is the template for your speaking. And one of it is the pre-event questionnaire. And the pre-event questionnaire is going to give you so much important data on your audience, so
Mm.
you know what the pain questions are to be able to ask them. Because if you don't know the pain questions, and there's nuances in that. There was a Fortune 500 company that brought me to speak to all of their Latina staff. They literally
Wow.
flew them in. But one question I didn't ask on the questionnaire, this is where I say you will learn from my mistakes, was because they were all Latinas. Are they first generation or second generation? That
Okay.
was a question I should have asked, because it makes a difference
Yeah.
with the stories I tell. Because
Mm.
I know a lot of speakers that will give the same speech every time, like verbatim, word for word, side for side, tear for tear, laugh for laugh. I help people to customize each one of your program. It could be the same
Mm.
program that you give over and over, but
Right.
you need to customize your stories so
Mm.
that they address the issues and the problems that your audience has. Because then when you do that, they're like, you know what? That Michelle, she's amazing on mindset. We should bring her in as a consultant to train our executive leader team. Oh, that Michelle, she was so good at that speech. She really understood our culture. We need to bring her in for our retreat. So then they start rebooking you, because there was a company that I spoke at, I think it was the Verizon one, where people thought I worked for Verizon because I was so in alignment with their brand that they thought for sure I was a staff member on salary with Verizon, because I knew how they thought. I knew the words, I knew the taglines, I knew the nuances, and I was just living, breathing it. So you want to be one that you're not an expert coming from the outside, but you're part of that culture. And it's an art to learn how to do that.
That is so brilliant. And I haven't heard anybody say that. I do hear people saying, get your signature talk down so that you could say it backwards and forwards and you just keep doing that over and over. But I haven't heard.
Boring. No, I'm
What's
kidding.
that?
I said boring.
Well, I think, you get kind of self-conscious, in my opinion, of, okay, I've already, some of these people might have already heard this and it's exactly the same. But
Tony Robbins does the same. No offense to him, he does the same. I saw a YouTube talk of him from 20 years ago, and then a YouTube talk from him right now. It's the same exact thing over and over and over. And people don't get self-conscious because I think they're like, this is my spiel, this is my expertise. But to me, because I have ADHD, I would get bored
yeah,
listening to my same talk.
I know. I would lose interest in my own talk as well. And then that energy is going to be conveyed to your audience, I think. But yeah, I love that because you can keep the structure of it, but you change the stories. I think that is so brilliant to resonate with whoever you're speaking to. I think that's an amazing, important nugget to take away.
And then also I have a way to tell your story where it's
Mm.
situation, action, result. This is a scenario that happened, but apply it to, if it's a technology company, to technology.
Mm.
If it's a product company, to a product. These were the actions, these were the results. Because now, to be a paid speaker, especially those of you that are wanting to go keynote or to be on stages, the companies and the organizations really want a return on investment.
Mm.
Before, they just wanted a motivational speaker, they just wanted somebody that was just going to inspire.
Right.
Now they want someone that's going to deliver, that's going to help them with their measurable outcomes to achieve their goals, so that they can say, this line item, there was a return on investment because this person wasn't just a rah-rah speaker. They gave us value. They solved
Mm.
our problem, and we are grateful that we had them.
Great tip. And the whole art of storytelling is something that I think everybody could use help with. That's not something you can necessarily, do that well on your own without, some training and some ideas. So, fantastic. So, just getting into these great tips, and of course, we're close to being out of time.
We
I
are.
told
Oh
you it
my
would be
God, that went
fast.
fast.
I know it all.
I thought we were like another half an hour.
I
I'm like,
know
what
we're
else?
just kind of getting into a lot of the meat too of what people can use. But can you tell people how they can go further with you and learn more of this, because you've got so much, so many more wonderful
Oh my
tips and
God, I
advice.
do have so many tips. That's one thing. You will never have low content for me.
No.
So do you see this link underneath? So I have a free webinar that is 5 steps to be a paid speaker.
Yeah, I'm looking
And
forward to that, by the way. I'm going to listen to that tonight.
yeah, yeah. And it's a PowerPoint with me voicing over it. And I go through a lot of what I talk about in the oh, there it is. Be a paid speaker now.com/sign dash up. I go over a lot of what I cover in my mastermind group. In July, I'm starting a mastermind program. It's a 6-month program. And some of my people are like, 6 months. Whoa, that's a long time. And I say, listen, this took me 17 years. And this is my 4th time doing this mastermind cohort. And I started with 3 months and then I went to 4 months and people felt overwhelmed. And because I'm committed to ease and grace, success with ease and grace, I'm also committed to people getting value. I'm not about people coming to my programs, signing up, spending valuable time and valuable money, and then not getting the results or not doing the
Right.
work.
Right.
So as a coach, I know how important it is for implementation.
Yeah.
So worked into the program is implementation time, where
That's
people
great.
will have time to actually process it and do it with an accountability buddy. Because I give 100% guarantee with my program. What? Yes, I do.
Wow.
So because I know that if people do the work and they follow through, they will get the results. It's just like A plus B equals C.
Right.
So if anybody is interested, so when you go to the Be a Paid Speaker Now program, you'll see testimonials. You'll also see an application form if you want to apply to be a part of it. I don't take everyone because some people are not ready. They need to get more confident in speaking, and then I refer them to my Ignite Your Speaking program. But this program is fantastic. I had a client that literally who didn't even graduate from high school, but is just an expert at mindset. He's an expert salesperson.
Wow.
He, within the 6th week, already booked a $1,500 gig and then booked another $2,500 gig at high schools, doing
Oh my
mindset for
gosh.
success at high schools, just applying the tools. And
I love
sky
that.
is really the limit of what you could get. So it's like already paid back threefold for him. So.
Well, I think if anyone is serious about, wanting to speak more, get paid to speak, you're the person who can really help them with this. And, you're a walking example of what can happen. And you just are a wealth of knowledge. And I think, you're also very generous. And I know that you will deliver.
I overgive.
You overgive. I was trying to find another word for I know you'll overgive, but you will overgive, and it'll be well worth it. So,
thank you. And like you said, I combine the spiritual with the marketing because both are important, the doing and the being. You could do, but if you have subconscious limiting beliefs, you already know you're going to be blocked and feel like you're in mud. And if you just be and never take any action, you're going to be meditating in your living room, imagining yourself speaking, but not going anywhere.
I know.
So I bridge the gap between spiritual and action so that you can take inspired action to get results to align for success.
And that is just hugely important. I don't believe in doing any programs anymore unless there's a mindset component and a practical component because you really need both, especially something like speaking that people are fearful about, and so. Wow. Okay. Well, this is great. So you have the link to Deborah's page where you can find your free webinar and more about her. And Deborah, thank you so much for coming on again. You're just an inspiration. And I really hope people, check out what you've got because how fun is that to get paid to speak? I mean, if you can get yourself to that point, that is a really big milestone and can really change everything you're doing in your career or your business. So.
And there's nothing that makes me happier than seeing my speakers on stage.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And we loved having you. And you can also see Deborah's earlier show, or you can find it anyway on iTunes, and that's for sure. So, and I'm going to check, and if it's not on my YouTube channel, we'll get it on there. So
it will be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Deborah, thank you again. We so appreciate you being here. And audience, thank you for being here. We love having you listening to the Limit Free Life Show. You can find us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, some other platforms, and my Limit Free Life YouTube channel. And we're here every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. You can find me at limitfreelife.com, Michelle at limitfreelife.com. If you have any questions for me, ideas for the show, ideas for questions about anything related to career, business, or money, I would love to connect with you and speak with you. So, okay, go out and make it a great, limitless week.